Hi, my name is Michela and welcome back to the 3C YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about a news media story that reflected poor customer service. This article from CBC in the politics section is titled "Flair is Canada's Worst Airline When It Comes to Passenger Complaints, Federal Data Shows" by John Paul Tasker. So Flair is a Canadian ultra low-cost carrier that flies within Canada and from some destinations in Canada to the United States. Flair was actually rated Canada's worst airline for complaints, with more than 20% of all of its flights generating some sort of complaints to the Canadian Transport Agency, which is called the CTA. That's in comparison to Air Canada, which only recorded 5.8%, and WestJet at 10.7%. That's a huge difference. That's double one of their competitors. There's actually even a Facebook group that's titled Flair Airline Nightmares with over 10,000 members in it, swapping horror stories regarding the airline. And the biggest complaint in this Facebook group was customer service or lack thereof. Customers felt like there was just non-existent customer service at Flair. Passengers were often experiencing extremely long flight delays that were over 10 hours, some that spanned from days to weeks, lost luggages, rebooking on flights to different cities where they didn't even have their destination, and the list goes on and on. What's unique about Flair is that passengers say their poor level of communication. Third-party contact centers, unfortunately, they have little control when it comes to issues like this. Yes, they can do the best that they can in terms of refunds or following processes, but with such complex issues like flight delays and rebooking, they're so limited in what they can do to resolve these types of issues. Customers state that usually their complaints are answered only via email. Passengers are often directed to an automated chatbot or the airline's website, a tool that passengers say is inadequate. CBC highlights what's really missing for Flair, a live customer service team. The article details two passengers who had horrible experiences with Flair. The first is a passenger that was stranded in St. John's, New Brunswick. His flight to Toronto was perfectly fine, but to return back, he was rebooked on a flight 10 whole days later. 10 days later is ridiculous. Not only did this passenger potentially have to book a hotel, they would have to take 10 days off of their job or whatever priorities that they had back home. After a trip to the airport to talk to a front desk agent, they got nowhere with their complaint with Flair. They tried calling the airline and he was on hold for a really long time. What he ended up doing was just driving back all the way across the country, costing him almost $1,500. That is a lot of money, and Flair only covered $688 of the $15 for him. That's a huge discrepancy still. What actually happened earlier this year was Air Canada, WestJet, and Sunwing were all brought in front of the House of Commons to account for the disastrous state of travel at Christmas time. But Flair was not on this list. Another customer from Toronto, a sales representative, had another story about Flair's mismanagement. His trip to Florida was ruined after several flight delays. They added up to almost 10 hours. But that wasn't his main issue. The main issue was that his flight was rerouted to a different town or city that was an hour away from his original destination. So what did he do? Just like the first passenger we spoke about, he booked a car and drove all the way across the US to get back to Canada. Right now, the CTA is dealing with 46,000 complaints alone across different airlines. That's going to take a really long time to get through. Not only are these issues and lack of customer service affecting Flair passengers, it's also affecting Flair's business and their revenue. Most recently, CTA actually threatened to pull the airline's license before they did back down because of the record number of complaints they were receiving about Flair. What actually did happen, though, was Ottawa cut ties with the operator of Flair Airport services at their airport because of its poor service. This horrible lack of customer service is a poor reflection on the brand as well. Customers who have similar experiences, just like the Facebook group, talk to one another, share their experiences. Personally, if I heard one of my friends taking Flair and had this experience, I would never purchase a ticket with Flair Airlines if I heard something like this. I wouldn't want to be stranded somewhere for multiple days, pay for a hotel for even a longer period of time, and honestly just ruin my vacation. This is a great example of why customer service with phone interactions is still so important in today's landscape. Customers are really frustrated with AI chatbots. They can't always complete all the tasks necessary. They're frustrated with long email response times, and they're frustrated with IVRs, when you constantly have to press 1 to speak to a representative, and then it brings you to an automated attendant. Examples like this really show how brands are missing out on revenue they can generate from existing and returning customers. I expect that these customers would never return to Flair because they had such a horrible experience. They'll go to another airline that maybe has better customer service that they can reach over the phone. It's so important for businesses, small or big like Flair, to make sure they have a really solid customer service team over the phone, and that they're making sure that their answer times are very low. Customers in this article consistently complained about long hold times. That's just going to increase customer irritability, and then the agent's not going to have a pleasant time with that customer on the phone. As much as third-party call centers do lack sometimes in what they're able to do to help the customer, it's all about the SOPs and the processes that the partnership develops between call center and business. It's important to have the customer arm the agents at the contact center with as much knowledge and power as possible to help their customers. If you have a small business and you're worried about your customer retention or brand awareness or brand reputation because you are experiencing high call volumes, or maybe you just can't answer the phone because you're busy doing other activities, you can go ahead and request a free quote from us below. If you like this video, go ahead and click the like button below and subscribe for more videos like this.